Now there are two curved lines to represent the cake of the cupcake. We're going to draw the icing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm also going to add a few lines here. They may or may not show up when I add paint, but that's okay. We can go over the paint when it dries. I want to use watercolor and crayons. You need to use the crayons first. Okay, if you want to use markers and watercolor, you have to use the markers first. Alright, so now we're going to add color. I have two different types of paint to use today. Some watercolor paint. I have tempera. So, with watercolor paint, if you want to make the color lighter, you use more water than paint. With tempera paint, if you want to make the color lighter, you have to add white. So when you add white to a color, that's called a tint. Before I get started with any type of paint, I would like to add a few designs in the background. I'm going to use different types of paints for my work, and that is called mixed media. I really like the zigzag line and how it will come back to the drawing of the cupcake. So I'm just going to make a few zigzag patterns in the background. I put on my paper. Alright, so that will be my background. I'm going to go ahead and add a few details to the foreground. I want to pretend like there's a light source coming this way, so everything on this side will have a little bit of a highlight. So I'm going to use my white crayon as a highlight. And I want to color my cake in. I'm using a peach color. Depending on the flavor of cake you would like to create, you'll use different colors, or the same if you like regular. And before you get started, you have to think about what colors you would like to make, because artists always have plans. Okay. You also want to have a rag on hand, as well as some water and a brush. The yellow is a lighter color than orange, so I'm going to fade it into orange or blend it into orange. I didn't like the way my prep paper worked out right there, so I decided to just limit my use of water. So as an artist, you're always making decisions. I'm going to add a couple of coats of orange, and then I'm going to sweep the colors in together, and I will do one more layer of yellow, sweeping it back into the orange. Circular strokes. I also want to add a little bit more purple to my cherry. Sweep some red into that purple. Oh, I'm getting a mess. That's okay. That's why I have a rag. Okay. Oh, I like what happened there. I'm going to go ahead and sweep a little bit of red in my icing and blot it out. Get some texture. Alright, the next cupcake I would like to use temper paint. Rinse my brush out, dry it off. And like this cool blue color for icing. I'm using a really tiny brush. You don't want to use a giant brush for a tiny painting. Darker color. Darker color. While the paint's still wet, you can dab it on the paper towel, and you can swoop in the icing into the lighter color. The table looks pretty flat. We're going to pretend we have a tablecloth. So for that, I'm just going to create a really strong diagonal. Oh, I pressed too hard. That's okay. Broken crayons still work. I'll take a pause when I get to my subject. The line is going to continue on the other side of the subject. Going to use a different type of paint. Right here. I really like the way that yellow looks. Go ahead and paint around the orange lines. Oops. And my brush was not as clean as it should have been. Oh, before I forget, Thiebaud, the artist that we are talking about, love to create really strong shadows, and since our light color is coming this way, we are going to pretend that the shadow of the cupcake is falling on the tablecloth to the right of the cupcake. going to continue that until we are done.